What's up, guys? Welcome back to another show. Today we've got a very special guest. Jake, how do you say your last name?
It's Wujastyk.
Wujastyk. See, that sounds so cool, and I heard it said before, and I was like, man, I'm gonna mess it up if I try and say it. So now you said it. So now if I mess it up, it's just embarrassing. So
It's a tough one. You probably haven't heard too many Wujastyks, so it's all good.
Well, my last name is Syak, but it's spelled like Seek, so it's like really tough. So I kind of understand. So we're probably in the same boat there.
Is that Polish?
It actually is. Well, actually, no, it's Lebanese, but I am partly Polish as well. So my family's like a clash of both.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds. My wife's last name is Wozniak, so the ak I figured maybe or Wozniak in Polish. She's from Poland, so yeah, no, very cool and
Makes sense.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to going over some charts with you.
Of course, man. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pretty much give you the floor. For those of you guys who are just tuning in or watching this at a later point, Jake is a team member, or are you the owner? I get confused with that too. Are you the founder, co-founder?
Founding team. So I was number 3, kind of to come in on the team and helped build the business side out. So founding member. Kind of.
Cool. Founding member Jake is going to be showing us some cool stuff on their software TrendSpider, which I think you guys are really going to enjoy checking out. Very, very cool platform. And I'm going to leave it up to you. What we'll do is I'll change the view over here so that your screen is there for people to see. And he's going to do some analysis stuff, Jake, and you're good to go. You have the floor.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Sure.
If I am looking over, it's just in case there's any comments. I'm looking at the comments. If anyone has any questions at any time about TrendSpider or anything like that, just post them in the comments section, and I'll kind of look over every couple minutes to see if there's anything new. But perfect. Yeah, TrendSpider is a technical analysis platform. So for U.S. equities, for crypto, for forex, pretty much these are the main ones. We also have futures, but at their end of day futures, we're working on getting live data there. So for the most part, your U.S. equities, including ETFs, the crypto side, and then forex. So I was thinking we could go over some forex and some crypto. And there's some things on TrendSpider that are really unique and proprietary that can help you on the crypto side for sure, and forex. But forex, the volume on forex can be a little hard to read sometimes. So I'll focus mostly on those volume-based features like the Raindrop Charts and that for crypto. So let's jump right into it. The first thing here that I wanted to point out is the fact that we do have watch lists already kind of pre-created for those that are trading crypto or forex or anything. So if you wanted to look at the top forex pairs, you just go to the sidebar here, click Add New Widget, go to watch list or scanner. I already have it, but if I were to do it again, just click here, watch list or scanner, click done, and then it will pop up. So we have the Dow Jones 30, we have all these equity kind of lists. But if you did want to go and just type in forex, the top forex pairs will come up, and you can kind of use this as a guide when you want to go kind of searching through these different tickers or pairs. So one thing you can do is automate trend lines on TrendSpider. That's actually how we got started way back in the day. We've been around for a little over 3 years now, and in March of 2018 is when we went to market. So the main thing that we had at that point was auto trends. So I definitely want to bring that up and show you guys how you can use this. So this is Euro USD. I'm on a weekly chart, but you can go and you can change this obviously to any time frame you want. And the nice thing is, as you go to each time frame, these auto trends will change. So in order to turn on the auto trends, just click on this trends button here, and you'll see these different lines pop up. Now we're on the weekly chart. So these are pretty much trend lines based on that weekly setup. And you can see here that we have quite a few lines. Now, all of these lines are not meant to stay on the chart. These lines are kind of there as an idea generator for you. So you can see here on Euro USD, on the weekly side of things, you can see we kind of have this broadening formation here. And all I'm doing is I'm double clicking on the lines that I want to lock in. I turn off trends, And then we have this clean setup here without all those other lines kind of being noise. So this allows you to really kind of have an idea generator there for you. These trend lines are not meant to replace what you're doing by hand. They're there to complement what you're doing discretionarily. And then based on whatever settings you're using, so you'll see here if I click these three dots, we have different preferences. So you have analysis type, drawing input, islands or gaps. You don't have to worry about that in Forex because you don't have gaps in Forex. So the analysis type is looking at the distance between the candles. The drawing input is looking to see if the system's going to draw wick to wick or body to body. So in this case, if you wanted to draw your trend lines by connecting the bodies instead of the wicks, you just change this to body and it says OC, that's the open and the close, instead of wick being HL, high and the low. So click body, click apply, and you'll see now we have new trend lines here. So this is kind of more of the setup I would probably be looking at here. Turn off trends, and then you have this nice barely broadening channel here. So this allows you to really go in and just make this whole process, one, more efficient, two, less biased, because the system is drawing these things consistently every time. So a lot of people, when they go and draw trend lines or do technical analysis, each chart they go to, they're drawing differently. So maybe on one chart you're connecting the wicks, on another one you're connecting the bodies. This will help you stay consistent, and the system on the back end is kind of just doing that work for you, and then all you have to do is choose the lines that you want to lock in place and keep on the chart. So let's say on Euro USD we're watching this particular setup here, and maybe we want to be alerted anytime the price starts to get down close or right at this trend line below. So a lot of the time, if you have an alert system set up, whether it's on your broker or another platform, you have to almost stack alerts, right? So like if you want to be alerted, you know, here, and then if it breaks down here, and then if it does that here, and then you kind of find yourself stacking alerts. With TrendSpider, our alert system, you can go in and actually create alerts around these areas. So let's say that you're monitoring Euro USD and you want to be alerted at any time the price gets around this trend line. Just right click, create an alert, and you'll see that this purple area comes up. So this is called sensitivity. So it allows you to create a margin of error around these lines instead of right at them. So a lot of people, you know, and there's nothing wrong with this, but a lot of people look at exact price levels, right? So like they'll say, Euro USD looks like it's going to bounce at $1.18 and 7/100ths, or you know, some crazy, very specific number, which is fine. You have to have some type of target, but this allows you to not have to be right on the money. It gives you a zone that you want to be alerted at rather than just that exact price level in case the price bounces before you get there, bounces, you know, right at it. It's just different ways that you can monitor this through the trigger feature here. So breakthrough, touch, bounce, these are all different ways that the price action is going to react with this line. So maybe you simply want to know when the price, if we start to break down, actually breaks through this line and closes through it. You'll be able to use the breakthrough here, and then you wouldn't really need sensitivity because in this case you're just looking at exactly when the price breaks this exact line, where the sensitivity is really for that touch, whenever the price touches that area instead of having to break through. So when you're using breakthrough, you can change your confirmation candles here. So if you're on the weekly candle, the lowest time frame you can go down to is 4 hours. So that means whenever the 4-hour candle closes through this line that we highlighted, you'll be alerted. Now, if you go to the daily, that means the daily candle has to break through and close through this line in order for you to get the text message or email alert that this has happened. So depending on what type of trader you are and which time frames you're looking for confirmation, the confirmation candles will definitely help. Now, you can name this whatever you want. Let's just name it support. And then you can make a note. So maybe you created 30 different alerts for a particular set of pairs. You don't have to go and try to think, oh, what, I forgot what this alert was. You just put in your note, go short Euro USD on the alert. or whatever your plan is there. So in this case, you have your note. That note gets sent to you with the text or the email when that goes off. Choose your expiration. In this case, this is a weekly candle, so you probably want to have your expiration maybe like 50 days out or so, because it's going to take, and who knows, we may not even test that level below, but if we did, it's likely going to take some time. It's probably not just going to flush in one candle. It could, but more likely it could take a little longer, and you don't want to have to go back and keep reinstating your alerts because it's expired after 5 days. So create the alert. You'll see here that this little tag comes up, support breakthrough at the daily. That means that we named it support. We're looking for a breakthrough whenever the daily candle closes below that. And then you're set up. You don't have to look at the chart anymore. You have your parameters that you've created. Then you just wait for the price action to do its thing. Now, as I mentioned, you can also do the touch feature, which is allowing you to kind of have a little bit of a margin of error around this line. So whenever the price touches anywhere within this purple area and closes in that purple area, that's when you'll get the alert. So a lot of people trade, just bounces. Some people trade breakdowns where there's conviction, by one side or the other. So in this case, you would probably be using this more as a bounce play rather than a breakdown. So a lot of different ways you can use the alerts here. And this is not just for trend lines. It's anything that interacts with price action. So pretty much an upper indicator. So an upper indicator is just anything that interacts with price on the chart. So that's Fibonacci levels, that's trend lines, that's moving averages, Bollinger bands, all types of things. So that's something that can really help you just monitor price action without having to stare at the screen all day. Especially, I know Forex is open and crypto is open on the weekends. So maybe you don't want to stare at the screen all day on a Saturday. You just go and set your alerts. Maybe you're looking for, a test of this basis moving average, which is essentially just the 20-week moving average here on Euro USD. You can go and create an alert at this area as well. And so whenever the price does its thing, whether you want to break through, touch, anything like that, you just go in and you'll be alerted. So anything on the upper side of the chart. One thing that I did want to mention is the ability to use multiple time frames as well. So maybe you're looking at the weekly Euro USD here. Maybe you're looking, at this potential inverse head and shoulders that's forming, kind of this very rough, inverse head and shoulders right here. But you also want to look at maybe what the monthly Bollinger bands look like. You can go in and you can actually overlay the monthly Bollinger bands onto the weekly chart, so you can see everything in one screen instead of having to split your screen. So Euro USD, let's look at the monthly Bollinger bands on Euro USD, and you'll see here that we're pretty far away from the upper band, and you'll see here how the price kind of respects this upper band here a couple different times. As the price gets outside of these, you do get pullbacks. So this is just a way, and same thing here. Back in 2017, you had these moves to the upside. Breakout of the monthly Bollinger band was definitely something to consider. So this is a way to visualize multiple time frames without having to have all these different screens up at once. So this is nice. You can do the same thing. Maybe you think ultimately the Euro USD is going back to around 116, 115. You just create an alert at the lower band, and maybe you don't think it's going to get all the way there. You can make this sensitivity area pretty big. So there's a lot of ways you can use that. Notice here, the price action, bounced right here. So maybe you want to make the sensitivity big enough where, it's taking into account that last bounce where this purple area was. So this is really nice. Now let's look at I'm just curious. Let's look at the MACD and some lower indicators just to see where we're at here. One, I just turned on the MACD on the monthly. I accidentally meant to turn on the weekly, but this is actually pretty interesting. Notice how the monthly MACD, anything that's dashed like this means that it's from a higher time frame. So we're actually looking at the monthly MACD starting to curl to the downside here. So you can see here the histogram is definitely starting to move down. The histogram is just the difference between the signal and the MACD here, the yellow and the blue. So as these get kind of closer together, the histogram is starting to move down. So that is something to definitely consider here on the Euro USD, where we are maybe starting to roll over a little bit. And you can see here the last time we had that type of kind of histogram starting to break down, that was a pretty strong signal that Euro USD was starting to break down. So we'll have to see if that plays out like it has in the past. Now, the nice thing is you can create alerts on the chart as well. So conditional alerts. So we just created the dynamic alerts, which include the sensitivity, but you can also create what are called multi-factor alerts. So here, notice how we're possibly about to break down on the weekly MACD here. The MACD, I don't think it hasn't crossed yet, but it's getting there. So maybe you want to look at the MACD, you want to look at the RSI, and maybe a couple other things. You can go in and you can actually create kind of a visual algorithm here. So maybe you think Euro USD is about to break down. The MACD is definitely starting to look a little bearish here, possibly crossing to the downside. And maybe you're looking for the RSI to break down through 50. You can go into create alert, multi-factor alert, and you'd be able to go in and just make this alert name possible breakdown. Choose your expiration. We're on the weekly, so maybe put the weekly to 30 days or something here. And you can go in and simply add parameter, condition, the weekly indicator, and all I have to do is type in rel, and relative strength index is going to pop up here. So click that. So the weekly RSI crossed down through the constant level we set of 50. So just click constant level, 50. So now whenever the weekly RSI crosses down through 50, you'll be alerted. But we also want to know when the MACD also crosses to the downside, you can put that condition in as well. So just click weekly indicator, MACD crossed down through the other indicator, which is just the signal. So you go weekly, MACD signal. So now when both of these conditions are met, you'll be alerted. So maybe this is a conditional set that's one of your friends told you about or something like that. You'll be able to go in and actually back test this and see, okay, is this a legit signal for a short position? You can go and test this strategy out. Let's test it as an entry condition. And so you can see here our entry condition is let's do the weekly, because that's what we're on. So I just changed the time frame to weekly. And now we're looking back 3,000 candles. So we're looking back essentially 3,000 weekly candles. So a lot of time we're looking back on here. And then you can change this to a short. So it says long only here. So that would be assuming that your entry would be a long. So if you wanted to make this a short entry, you just change this to short only. And it's actually going to test this out as a short position. So let's say that you want to know what's the return after 3 months. So 12 weeks here. So the exit condition is number of candles have passed. Click test. And you'll see here that with a long position, you're down about 0.24%. But if you change this to a short position, you're up 0.24% after 12 weeks. Maybe you're a much shorter term trader and you're looking for maybe what's the return after 2 weeks. Just change this to 2, click test, and then you'll see in this case, after 2 weeks have passed, whenever the MACD and the RSI do their thing, you're actually down on your short position by 0.45%. So this allows you to see, is the strategy that I'm about to implement actually a profitable strategy? Now, one, the question is it profitable? Two, which is the main thing, is it beating just buying and holding this? So the performance chart allows you to see if your strategy that you're testing is just beating buy and hold. So, what's the point of buying something and trading it if you could literally just buy it and forget about it for 2 years and all of a sudden you're ahead of the game? So the performance chart here, I can make this a little bigger. anytime this blue area is below this price action here, this historical price action, that means that your strategy is not beating buy and hold. So right now you can see that trading anytime the weekly RSI crosses down through 50 and then the MACD crosses down, that is not going to make you any money compared to buy and hold. It's actually going to lose you money. The mean trade return is negative 0.5%. Under the tabular data here, you'll see the number of wins. So 47% of the time, this is a winner on the short side. 53% of the time, it's a loser on the short side. So you can see what the drawdown is, what's the average win, what's the average loss, all of this information that will help you get an edge in the market when you are trying to refine your strategy. Now, it looks like there are a couple questions, so I will look over here. Does the software chart trends on stocks, Forex, and futures? It will automate the trend lines on stocks and Forex and crypto and futures, but futures is end-of-day data. So the data that we have right now with futures, unless you're looking at a longer-term time frame, it's not really going to help you too much if you're trying to trade futures, live. So just to be upfront about that. But yeah, it will chart trends on stocks, Forex, and crypto very easily. Yes, we can look at CAD JPY here in a second. Growth Man Gamer, this is TrendSpider. So this is our technical analysis software that we've created. And one thing I'll mention, since there are some questions, we do have a 7-day free trial, so you guys can try this out if you want. There's no obligation to pay anything up front. You'll get access to the platform to try it out, see if it works for you. If you need more time, we can extend that trial another 7 days. And I do have a coupon code as well if anyone's interested. TN25 is a coupon code that can get you 25% off any plan. So just wanted to mention that since there are some questions coming in about the platform. So yeah, that answers all the questions. But yeah, if you guys want to try this out, we have a 7-day free trial. Just go to TrendSpider.com and you can try it out. So let's look at what was it? CAD JPY. Let's see. So I just do CAD JPY. And let's just get rid of all these things here. So here's CAD JPY. Maybe you want to look at the overall trend using the trend lines without having to go in and draw your own trend lines and possibly add some bias to your chart. Just turn on trends here. You'll see that these trend lines are automatically popping up. Remember, these are different settings that you can choose from. So right now, we've got this, we've got a couple ways to look at this, right? So you've got possibly this channel right here that you want to focus on. I'm just double clicking these two lines, turning off trends, and now we have these two lines locked in. Now I can also go in, turn on trends again, using the same settings, can look at a completely different setup. Maybe we want to look at more of this very rough symmetrical triangle looking pattern here. You can do that as well. It's really up to whatever you're seeing. The system is there just to be an idea generator for you to then go in and make these lines locked in to whatever your style and your trend line preferences are. So that was CAD JPY, just looking at the weekly chart using the body-to-body connection. So maybe you want to connect the wicks instead of the body. We'll click apply, and you'll see now we have a few more trend lines to look at. So now it's kind of looking at this area here, which is actually already showing this kind of symmetrical triangle breaking out here. So you can see here, we've actually tested this area quite a few times. You can see that we finally have broken out here. So this allows you to really see so many different perspectives, and then you get to choose. You still have the discretion to go in and see, does this make sense to me? Do I want to create another set of lines? And then you can always go in and you can create your own lines as well. Maybe you want to, add another line here or something like that. You could go in and just draw your own lines as well. So it's not just automated. You can have discretionary charts as well. And in this case, this would be a great way to use the alert system. pretty typical for a breakout to come and retest the previous breakout zone, which would be down here on this previous resistance line. So you go in, create an alert. Maybe you want to know anytime the price gets around this line, you use the sensitivity, choose touch here, 4 hours. So whenever the 4 hour candle closes in this purple area, you'll be alerted. You name it whatever you want, create alert, and then you're all set up. And whenever the price gets to this area and then closes in that area, that's when you'll be alerted. So yeah, CAD JPY looks like a breakout here to me. These are probably the trend lines that I would be using. Mike Wilter. So that was the question from Mike. So hopefully this was helpful in seeing CAD JPY here using the auto trends. Now, one thing to also keep in mind, something that we have is called seasonality. Seasonality is big in crypto. It's big in Forex. Seasonality allows you to go in and use the technicals with the seasonal trends, the historical seasonal trends. So you can go to sidebar, add or remove a widget. Let's just get rid of the watch list for now. We'll add seasonality as the widget. Click done, and you'll be able to see, how has CAD JPY performed over the last, X amount of years. So if you're familiar with anchoring is essentially looking at something from a specific point in time. Generally, you want to, anchor from a status quo change in the market. So maybe we're looking at, if we wanted to look at the monthly seasonality for CAD JPY, I'm not sure I'd be looking since 2001 because there's probably a lot of different cycles that CAD JPY has gone through over the last 20 years. So what I would do is I'd go to the weekly here, the monthly, and I would say, okay, well, what is the seasonality since the highs here? Because pretty much since then we've been in a downtrend, right? We're hitting lower highs here. So maybe I want to know, since pretty much late 2007, how has CAD JPY performed on a month-by-month basis? So I can go here, I can click since, and go to, when was that? November of 2017. So since, 2007, not 2017. Since November 2007, and I want to look at the monthly seasonality, and I can see the win rate of each month. So in this case, you'll see, June, since 2007, June has a 43% win rate. So what does that mean? It means that 43% of the time, this pair closes higher than May's close. So in this case, a 43% win rate means that June closes higher than May 43% of the time since 2007. And the reason I'm doing it since 2007, that's when we really topped out and the trend changed from these higher highs. Now we're in this long period of these lower highs here on CAD JPY. So you can pair this with your technical analysis. So if we go into the weekly chart and we see, okay, well, we're breaking out here on the weekly chart and going into July, pretty much the month is halfway over already. Going into July, we do have a little bit of an uptick in seasonality. So we're seeing a breakout on the technical side. We're seeing seasonality get a little better going into July. That's how you can pair these two things together to get a better idea of what's going on. Now, what you can also do is you can go on the daily chart, and you could go on the daily chart and look at how has the day of the week performed so far in 2021. So you can see here, you would change this from monthly to day of the week, and you'd be able to go to January 2021, and you can see how each day of the week performs. So you can see, historically speaking, since we started 2021, Tuesday has a 71% win rate. So Tuesday by far is the most bullish day, at least so far in 2021, for this particular pair. And you can see here, Monday is by far the weakest day of the week with a 42% win rate. So the 42% win rate means that 42% of the time, Monday closes higher than Sunday's close here. So you'll see that pretty much going into the next week, you are going into some weakness here. And then let's say that you want to look at how each week of the year has performed since that 2007 date, you can go and see if there's any granularity by each week of the year. So you can see here, we're breaking out. We're also going into the 26th and the 27th week of the year have a high spike in win rates. So 62% and 69% going into the next 2 weeks. So strong seasonality on the weekly chart. We're breaking out. So there's a lot of things here that suggest possibly a continuation up with seasonality and the technical side of things. Just looking to see if there's any other questions. CAD JPY, I'm looking at, in this case, the weekly. I was just on the daily. Depending on what type of trader you are, that time frame is going to change. But even if you were a scalper, maybe you're using the 5-minute chart on CAD JPY. You can even go into the hour of the day seasonality, and you can go to since January of 2021, and you can see, look at this. This is interesting. There is a big drop off going into the next hour 1500 and 1600 here. Now I think this is on Denver time, since I'm in Denver. But yeah, you can see the difference here in the win rates. You have this little spike going into the next hour, but then going into the 2 hours after that, you have a big difference in the win rate with these 2 hours definitely being the lowest win rates of the day. So as I mentioned, 36% win rate for hour 1500 just means that 36% of the time this closes higher than the previous hour. And then going for hour 1600, you can see that 29% of the time this hour closes higher than the previous hour. So the win rates are not telling you the probability, they're telling you the historical seasonality of what has happened in the past, in this case, so far in 2021. Any questions on how that works? This is pretty much fractal, right? You can use it on the monthly, the weekly, the daily. It just depends on what type of trader you are. If you're a position trader, you're probably not going to be looking at the hour of the day seasonality unless you're just really trying to hone in on your exact entry there. But it just depends on whatever type of trader you are. That's what's going to change the time frames that you're looking at on obviously both the chart, but also the seasonality here. Any other pairs that you guys want to look at before we move on? Anyone? If not, we'll move on to some cryptocurrency, which is having an interesting last week or so. Before that, I do want to go into the raindrops because the raindrops are something that you definitely can use for crypto. I mean, you could use some of these volume features on Forex, but volume can be kind of weird on Forex. So I would definitely say if you want to try out the volume things that we have, such as the raindrop, the anchored volume by price, these are things that you can definitely use more on the crypto side than the Forex side. But okay, so we do have, oh wow, we have a couple requests. Let's look at Euro USD. I think we already looked at that one, but we can quickly look at it again. The Euro USD, and the nice thing about the auto trends is you could turn on the auto trends here for the 5-minute chart. So you can see here we've got kind of this rough broadening formation that we've kind of invalidated here. So depending on how strict you are with how your setups are, but here's just kind of this broadening formation that's forming on Euro USD on the 5-minute chart. We could go to the 15-minute chart, turn on auto trends, and we're going to see something different. So it really just depends on what time frame you're trading on, but you can use these auto trends literally on anything. So here we've got this symmetrical triangle starting to form here on the 15-minute chart. And as I mentioned, all I'm doing is just double clicking those auto trend lines, and then that locks them into place. Once I turn off trends, then all of the other trend lines go away. So you have a nice clean chart. So Euro USD, USD JPY will do for the last one. So here's the 15-minute chart here. Turn on trends. You'll see here that we kind of have this kind of symmetrical triangle forming here. Notice how there's a ton of trend lines here. I don't want to have all those trend lines on my chart. I just turn off trends, and now I have a nice clean chart with the 2 levels that I'm watching here. So just a really efficient way to look at trends and look at analysis, but still have discretion over what you're looking at. So that is USD JPY. Let's go into the raindrop charts, and we'll go over some different cryptos. But first, go over what exactly is a raindrop chart. A raindrop chart is essentially a volume-weighted chart. So, especially for traders in the stock market and in crypto, let's say that you have a big spike in price intraday, and you want to see how much volume was kind of backing that. You're probably going to have to go to the 2-minute chart or the 5-minute chart and look for where those volume bars are located relative to where the price was. And that can be really inefficient, and it can just get sloppy. With the raindrop chart, you can use this on any time frame from the 10-minute to the 1-day candle, so the daily chart. And there's a couple different layers to the raindrop. So you have the VWAP on the left bar here. So if you're familiar and you trade price bars, a price bar, your left bar is your open, your right bar is your close. In this case, this is your volume weighted average price during the first half of whatever candle time frame you're on. And then the second bar here, this right bar, is the volume weighted average price for the second half of whatever time frame you're on. So rather than an open and a close, it's showing you the volume weighted average price during the first and the second half of the time frame. Let's assume this is a daily chart. So you can see here your high and the low of the day is the same. That doesn't change. It's only the VWAP on the left and the right are there instead of the open and the close. Now the second layer to this is the actual volume profile overlaid on top of the candle. So you'll see here on the left here, you've got the volume profile really showing a lot of that volume focused at near the low of the day. You can see on the right-hand side, a lot of that volume profile is kind of taking up the high of the day. So you can see how the volume is changing with price action over that time frame. This is really helpful when you're looking at resistance, when you're looking at support areas, and even differences in the color of raindrops. So I'll go over that here in a second. So the different color raindrops, you can see you've got a bullish raindrop, neutral raindrop, bearish raindrop. So the bullish raindrop, the green raindrop, is just when your volume weighted average price during the second half of the candle time frame is higher than the first half. So, you know, just like a bullish regular price bar, anytime your close is higher than your open, it's going to be green. Neutral raindrop is blue, purple, whatever you want to call that color. That is when the volume weighted average price on the left and the right hand side are equal. So it's essentially a volume weighted doji, and it allows you to sometimes see where important reversals are coming in. I like to look at these blue raindrops anytime where you have, you know, essentially you have let's say a 20 to 30 candle time frame where there are no blue raindrops, and maybe you have a big move to the upside or a big move to the downside, and then a blue raindrop forms. That a lot of the time will signal a reversal. So in this case, you definitely want to look at the personality of the stock, or stock, crypto, whatever you're looking at. You generally, you know, don't want to pay too much attention to a blue raindrop if it's forming every 2 days. It kind of loses its value. So I like to look at stocks, crypto that haven't had a blue raindrop in a long time, finally forms one, and that's generally a short-term reversal signal. Bearish raindrop is just when your VWAP on the left-hand side of the candle is lower than the first half. So your volume weighted average price during the second half of, let's say this is a daily candle, VWAP for the second half of the day is lower than the first half, and that makes it red. So these are the different color raindrops. So when I do show a couple examples, that's how you can kind of look at those and understand what these colors represent. Better off with footprint chart. I mean, everyone has their own ways of trading. I personally prefer this. Footprint charts, if you're looking at actual orders stacked up in the time frame it can get a little confusing. And these are just a lot easier to interpret a lot quicker. But there's really three main ways to use raindrop charts. So you can view volume flow within candlestick wicks. That's how I like to use them the most, especially if you've got a breakout point and you want to look and see, is that breakout backed by volume? A lot of the time you'll have an intraday breakout, but you'll actually close below the moving average or the resistance line. So being able to use these around resistance and support zones, especially when you have wicks there, that's a great way to use these. And then, as I mentioned, you can always look for discrepancies between the actual close versus what the raindrop color is. So if you have a red close, but you have a green raindrop, definitely worth noting, the discrepancy there and possibly what I'd call divergence. And just again, if you guys do want to try this out, 25% off any plan with the 7-day free trial. Just you can use TN25 if you want to try out the raindrops. So I do want to show you guys an example here. I'm just going to use an example on a stock. This is Spotify. So we'll go to the weekly chart here, or excuse me, the daily chart. And this is a really good example of kind of visualizing how this analysis works using the wicks. So I like to look at two charts here, split the chart with a hollow candle, and then have the raindrop here on the other side. And you'll see something pretty interesting. So there's a pretty clear resistance line here. So I'm just going to draw that, connecting these two wicks. And you'll see we finally tried to break out of this area back in, this was back in October. And you'll see something really interesting. You'll see that you've got this resistance line. You've got this candle that moved through this resistance line intraday. And I say intraday because there's a wick there. But you can see that we actually closed below this resistance line. So this is an example on a couple different case studies here. One, you can see within this raindrop, there's no volume profile within the wick. So you can see here, here's our wick, here's our raindrop, and you can see it's pretty much flat at the top. So if there was actually volume there, you would see the volume profile. And so the way to look at this is not, is this buying volume? Is it selling volume? It's looking to see, is there actually demand willing to absorb supply on the market? So if there were truly aggressive buyers and buyers with strong conviction, they would have absorbed any supply that was being dumped on the market above this resistance line. But since there is no volume, we know that the price had to drop in order to find buyers. And that's why there's no volume profile here, because there was not enough conviction by buyers to actually buy the breakout. So that's one. So anytime you see a wick like this, and then you see within the wick it's flat, that's a big red flag, possibly for a reversal. Now, on top of that, even bigger of a red flag is when you have a green candle close, but then you have a red raindrop close. That's a really, really new type of divergence. It works a lot of the time. Anytime that I see the raindrop a different color than the close, hollow candle close or the regular candle close, I'm looking more actually at the raindrop color. So the fact that this was a red raindrop and the fact that we didn't have any volume at the top of the range definitely told me that this is likely going to be, a fake out and possibly a continuation reversal from here. And that's exactly what we got. I mean, this is a pretty big reversal. It's not always going to be like that, but this is just a good example on Spotify. Now, let's see if there's any questions. No questions yet. Just quickly here on lows. This is a kind of opposite case study here, and this is really just to show you guys how this works. I know a lot of people here are either Forex or crypto traders, but I do want to kind of give you guys some context on how these volume-weighted charts work. So here's lows, same type of example here. We've got diagonal resistance. You can see here I'm just highlighting it on the chart, make it red. So you can see here, this is exactly opposite of what we just talked about on Spotify, where you've got your resistance line, you've got your wick, intraday that moved through the resistance line, but we still closed below this area. So you can see that here. We closed pretty much right at resistance. However, we have a very different picture on the raindrop. One, the raindrop is green. So you've got kind of continuity here with the green close and the green raindrop. But on top of that, notice what you have inside this wick. You have a volume profile. So that means that as the price was moving up, there were buyers willing to absorb any of that supply that was being dropped on the market. And so a lot of people look at a wick like this and they think, well, you know, sellers came in and pushed the price down into the close. What more likely than not happened was you had very aggressive buyers coming in, pushing the price up, absorbing all of that supply that was being dumped on the market after we were breaking out of resistance. And then it's not that sellers came in and pushed the price down back below the resistance. It's more likely the fact that those aggressive buyers were done buying and the supply and demand curve went back into equilibrium due to the demand curve shifting, not as a function of the supply curve. So if you guys aren't familiar with supply and demand, you know, it doesn't matter what market you're trading. You definitely want to understand the supply and demand curves, how they move, the logic behind them. So in this case, because those aggressive buyers were done buying, the demand curve shifts to the left, less quantity demanded, and you're back at a lower equilibrium price without the supply curve shifting, meaning that sellers actually stepped in and pushed the price down. So anytime you see a bulge of volume like this above resistance with this type of wick, you definitely want to take note. And as I mentioned, you're going to want to use this mostly on crypto and stocks. Forex, I haven't done a lot of research with it, but with volume being kind of weird on Forex, it is something to consider that these may not work as powerful and as well on the Forex side of things. So let's go into Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin here, BTC USD, Coinbase. I'm just looking at the Coinbase data feed here. And so you'll see here something pretty interesting that happened over the last couple days. So one, we do have what's called anchored volume weighted average prices. Crypto respects supply and demand zones probably better than stocks, honestly. It's a market very much driven by supply and demand and liquidity in the market. So Bitcoin here, what you're doing is you're looking at the swing high and you're starting a volume weighted average price from that point where there's a change in the trend. And so you'll notice here, as we moved up on Bitcoin, we rejected right at this volume weighted average price from this pivot here. Why is that? Well, think about if you bought in and this is essentially looking at the dollar cost average from the swing high. So let's say that you dollar cost averaged in and your average price is right around 41,000 after buying a little high, and then it drops, you buy some more, and then your average price is right around 40,500. Well, as you get back to break even from being down way at 31K, you may take some off the table. And so as the price gets back to your average, you may lighten up your position, and that allows you to essentially see where everybody's dollar cost average is from the swing high. And so as people start to break even sell, that adds supply onto the market, that creates a resistance zone, and then you get a rejection here. So volume weighted average price, especially anchored volume weighted average price, I don't use just 14-day VWAPs. I'm using VWAPs from these swing highs, these pivots, that type of thing. That is really where you're going to get a lot more utility out of using VWAPs. Now, one thing I'll mention here on Bitcoin, you can see on Bitcoin using these raindrops, notice most of the volume profile during the second half of the day is at the top of the range. So here on this breakout, here we also had volume at the top of the range, but then here, notice the volume starts to flatten out, very similar to what we just saw on Spotify. You don't have a lot of volume profile at the top here. That is definitely a signal that you don't have a lot of conviction by buyers absorbing supply above the VWAP. And then what happens after that? you get a reversal. You can see a lot of that volume is having to take place at the bottom of the range today because there's not enough buyers to absorb supply near the top of the range. So I promise if you start to use these raindrops, this is going to completely change the way that you visualize volume in the market, how you visualize liquidity in the market. And it's a great way to look and see, what's going on within a candle's intraday time frame without actually having to go into the intraday 5-minute chart. You can look at the daily raindrop and get all that information in one candle. So that's really how you can use these raindrops. Another thing that you can definitely use is the seasonality on crypto. Crypto is also a very seasonal type of traded asset. So you can see here, if you go to the sidebar, add or remove widgets, we already have seasonality. So here, what I want to do is let's just make this a single chart. We'll go to the monthly. So I want to know pretty much since the 2017 highs, because this was a change in trend, I want to know since this point in time, how has each month performed since this point in time? So I can go to, let's see, go to monthly, change this to December of 2017. That's when we topped out. And then you can see here that June, historically speaking, has a 67% win rate here. So, or actually, let me exclude 2021 because it's okay. So no, it's not including that. So June has a 67% win rate since the December 2017 highs. Notice what happens into July and August. July only has a 33% win rate. August has a 0% win rate. That means since the bull market 2017 highs, there has not been one August that closes higher than July. So pretty much meaning August is a red month, has been a red month since the 2017 highs. So for me, I look at this and I see, okay, this is definitely a little iffy for crypto. It's not shocking that we're having this candle here, this red can or this green candle, because historically speaking, June isn't too bad of a month for crypto with a 67% win rate. However, going into July and August, it definitely becomes a little bit of a problem. So hopefully this was helpful understanding a little more about TrendSpider, how you can use both the technical side of things as well as seasonality, some of these other traditionally non-technical tools. And let's see if there's any other questions here. There's a question, green raindrops mean bullish. Green raindrops just mean that the volume weighted average price during the second half of the day is higher than the first. So generally speaking, yes, it's showing that there is bullishness going into the day ahead when you're looking at the volume weighted average price. Any other questions that I can answer? As I mentioned, this is something you can try out for free. You don't have to go and pay for it to actually see if raindrops help your perspective in the markets. So you can use TN25 for 25% off if you do decide to actually buy this after 7 days or after 14 days if you extend your trial. But all in all, just wanted to give you guys some perspectives in the crypto market and in the Forex market using this tool. And Nick, I appreciate you having me on to go over some of these different things. And hopefully people see the value in getting a little bit of an edge using this and seeing the markets in a different perspective.
Absolutely, Jake. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I really enjoyed just checking out your tool. It's the first time I've really sat down and just kind of watched some stuff about TrendSpider in a little bit more depth. I love that seasonality. That is such a cool feature that you guys got on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because when we first came out with it, I was like, why did we waste our time making this? And then I started using it and I started applying, these breakouts and then looking at, okay, we're breaking out, but we're also, going into a very seasonally bullish time of the year. It literally makes all the difference. I've been trading since I was 12 years old. These tools have completely changed the way I look at the market and just in general, just the way that, supply and demand work and seasonality works across the board. So thank you again for having me. And hopefully this was helpful for your audience. And if you guys have any questions, you can always just send us a message on Instagram, just at TrendSpider, or you can send us a message on Twitter. Same thing, at TrendSpider. Our DMs are open. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Absolutely, Jake. Thank you so much for coming on. And guys, like Jake said, go check it out. So you said there is like some sort of free trial version or something that's available?
Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, you can just sign up for a free trial and try it out. You don't have to buy anything. It's just it's just something that you can see if it works for you. We definitely don't want people to just buy this and then they say, oh well, I've used it for 3 days, I don't like it. We definitely want to see give you guys the opportunity to try it before you buy, because the last thing we want is just a bunch of people buying it and then realizing it maybe doesn't work for their style of trading, and then they're stuck with a subscription. So definitely a free trial, and you can extend it up to 14 days if you need more time.
Absolutely. Well, guys, go get a free trial. What do you have to lose? That's really cool. Thank you so much, Jake, for coming on. Really appreciate your analysis and your insights with your tool from TrendSpider. So maybe we'll have you back at another point. I know you got some big life changes coming your way, which is very exciting. Congratulations on the is it a boy, girl? Do you know?
Baby boy.
Nice. Awesome. Well, congratulations to you and your family. And thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And hopefully we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. All right, Jake. Thanks, guys. Again, big shout out to Jake for coming on. Really great to have him. Definitely some great insights with the tool. Very cool. I love that seasonality. That's such a good idea. Would love to check that out a little bit more myself even. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for being on today's stream. If you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe here, and also go check out TrendSpider.com if you want to go try out their tool and see if it's a fit for you. Thanks so much, guys. We will see you back in the next one.